Hi everyone, I am Stephanie Wicker. I'm a behavior consultant in Sydney, Australia. And if you're watching this right now, that means that you're interested in learning about a behavior consultation. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you three things. First, I'm going to tell you who a consultation is best designed for. The second thing we're going to talk about is what happens in a consultation and what consultancy looks like. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is how to book a session with me. Okay. So let's get started. I don't want to waste any time, but I do want to thank you very much for checking out my website, stephaniewicker.com. Very proud of it. Okay, so first things first, who is behavior consultancy designed for? Who buys this stuff, right? Okay, so as a consultant, my number one client, very quickly followed by teachers, but my number one client are parents, moms and dads who have consistent concerns about challenging behaviors at home. And that might look like defiance, that might look like tantrums. Sometimes it looks kind of like a parent is disconnected. I don't know how to get him to listen besides using threats and bribes, and I don't want to be that kind of parent anymore. So can you help me? So you can see that it's very diverse, and my clients, they all have their own individual concerns. However, at the end of the day, it all comes down to challenging behaviors that are incredibly overwhelming. And that in the moment when we become overwhelmed, what's the first thing that we do? We question ourselves and we disconnect from that child. And that's a big deal because as soon as you start to doubt yourself, you disconnect. And as soon as you disconnect from someone, you start to do things you don't mean to do. Things like blaming, yelling, threatening, behaviors that we never choose to engage in. They just happen because we don't know what else to do. So that is definitely my number one client, is definitely parents, because I find that parents are the most motivated to reconnect with children, which makes sense, right? But I also work a lot with teachers and educators who are having behavioral concerns in the classroom. So for example, maybe some of their children are becoming disengaged and they're not able to keep them with the rest of the group, or maybe they have children who are not able to finish tasks independently. They've lost their motivation for learning. And I work with quite a few teachers. I do one-on-one and I also do staff training. So to help with behavior management in the classroom. Okay, so mostly parents and educators who are exposed to great amounts of time with children. Okay, so that's probably my number one, who is this for, okay? So my number two question is, what is involved in a consultation? So first of all my consultations are highly individualized, which means that none look the same. They are completely derived around what you tell me, what your concerns are. And we discuss your concerns ahead of time. You let me know your top 3 issues that you want to talk about in our consultation, and that's what everything revolves around. However, I can kind of give you a layout of what goes on in my head, what I think this is what I want to accomplish every time I am talking to a client. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I want to get rid of your overwhelm. I want to replace your doubting yourself and your questioning your decisions about behavior management or parenting by simply providing you with knowledge. You know, when we know why someone is doing what they're doing, then we are able to be empathetic. We are able to understand them. And guess what? You connect. You're able to connect. And I think that that is the biggest drawback when we become overwhelmed with behaviors. We don't know what to do. Nothing else is working. We disconnect. That's just our natural process in our brain, is to disconnect, because we're going into our midbrain and we're falling back on our past memories and feelings of discouragement, and then on down to the brainstem where we go into our fight, flight, or freeze responses. And that is why when we become overwhelmed, it is so difficult to have clarity. It is so challenging to know what to do in the moment and to be empathetic to that child who's clearly having a really hard time, but we're just not able to get past our own emotional responses to the challenge. So that's the first thing that I do, is I help you learn how to recognize those triggers, learn how to understand what is going on in your child and what is evoking your emotional response to their emotional response. And then from there, you find that you are empowered. Knowledge is empowering, because just like that, you're like, oh, Stephanie said this would happen. That's right. I know what's happening now. I know what to do. And just like that, you are back in control of your own behaviors, and then you're able to shape the behaviors of those around you, and it is the most incredible feeling. So that's the first thing I do, is I get rid of that overwhelm by taking you through step by step what is going on during those challenging behaviors. Okay, after we have taken care of that, because that is number one. If we're not able to get past that hump in the road, then we're not able to apply any of the strategies that I'm going to teach you. So it's very important that we start with recognizing that there is a problem, and we are going to face it, and we are going to get rid of that overwhelming and that self-doubt that we have in the moment. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to have a look at what behaviors are happening, right? And why they're continuing to happen. And this is all I guess this would be step number two. So step number one is getting rid of the overwhelm. Step number two is looking at why these behaviors are happening, what is motivating them to happen, because believe it or not, children do what they have learned to do. Children do the best option that is available to them to get their needs met in that moment, okay? That's a long sentence, but that's what they do. So we need to realize that our behavior has shaped theirs. They have learned these habits. They have learned defiant behaviors. They have learned not to listen. They have learned to tantrum. They have learned to nag. So we need to retrace our steps and get an idea of where they learned it. Okay, so what's going on? What is increasing these behaviors? Why do they continue to happen? The next thing we're going to do is talk about some strategies. Okay, so let's put some goals in place. We want to reduce the defiance, right? That's going to be a big one. How do we get rid of all of these defiant behaviors? Well, the first thing we do is we talk about the overwhelm and your emotional responses to defiance. Then we talk about what's motivating the defiance. And then we can finally look at the function behind the individual behaviors that evoked the defiance. So as you can see, we really go into depth of what is going on in your child's brain, where they are developmentally, and where they are learning all of these habitual thinking patterns from. Okay, so once we start to introduce some strategies, that's when things start getting really, really fun. And we would be getting near the end of the session by then. So we will tackle several things that will give you applicable solutions in the moment that I want you to go practice. Okay, you need to go put this stuff into action immediately. Practice, 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 because we need to create our own habits, right? So we want our child to self-regulate their emotions and to change their habits, but it starts with us. We need to self-regulate our emotional responses to them, because we are the adult after all, and then we need to shape our own habits to help them shape new habits, okay? All right, so then, I know, right? I told you, there's a lot of stuff that happens in a consultation. So then, after we have put some strategies in place, then we are gonna look at how to know if they're working. How can we possibly know if what we have applied today is going to work in a week from now? So that is very important. And I'm going to give you several really simple, amazing tricks to have in your toolkit, so you know that what you're doing is effective and is applicable in the moment. Okay, because one strategy might work today and not work tomorrow. So we need to be flexible, and we need to be adaptive to day-by-day circumstances. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that. So you can see that my consultations, there's so many things that happen in them, and they're highly, highly individualized, which means that every single mom and dad can learn something unique for them, a strategy specifically suited for them, for their child's behavior, and for the environment that they want to create at home. Okay, so anyway, so that's what happens in a consultation with me. Like I said, I work with parents and educators. So I do these exact same steps with educators. The only difference is with educators, we might make some kind of a behavior intervention plan. We might develop an early education plan together, something like that, something that we can introduce to the school as a whole. So there are a few little small differences, but otherwise it really is all the same thing. Behavior management is the same whether you are in school or you are in daycare, or you're in university. Behavior is always the same. What drives behavior, what motivates behavior, all of those things and how to shape behavior, it never changes. That's why these consultations are absolutely priceless. They're incredible. You're going to learn amazing content that you can put into action right now. All right, so last thing is how to book a consultation with me. All right, if you scroll down on this page, you are going to see a beautiful little gold strip that says book a consultation. Super simple. Click on that button, purchase a consult. I will contact you within 24 hours with a date and a time, and we will work together because I don't have a lot of automated systems simply because I don't want to. I want to get to know you. I want to talk to you. I want to know what works for you. So I'm going to contact you directly and we're going to book a time together. And look, if you're having some kind of a crisis situation, you just let me know in that email and I will book a consultation within 24 hours, okay? Because I know that a lot of parents, they contact me and they're like, I need you right now. So I try to be as flexible as I can with things like that. If you can be flexible with me as well, okay? Because we do need to take in mind that there are going to be international hours and all that kind of stuff. So please bear with me. If you don't hear back from me right away, it's probably just because I'm in Australia and you're in America or something like that, okay? So bear with that time change. Okay, I look forward to talking to you.